And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I am your host, Wes Tankersley. Today we have an awesome guest, Wendy Kok. She is the author of a novel called A Gray Resort that has recently won an American Fiction Award in 2020. She also has another book on the way. She is the mother of 2 sets of twins, we're going to talk about that. Wendy, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, you have a pretty great story, and I love sharing these success stories with people so that they understand that there is so many different definitions for it and so many different ways to get there. And so I'm glad to have you on. Can you tell us just a little bit, give us a little background on yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm kind of a late bloomer. I've done all kinds of different things. I used to be in the service way back when, and I went to college. I did a lot of different type jobs. I have, 2 sets of twins. They're all teenagers right now. And currently I work as a parapro at the high school. And I'm also a podcaster and an author. I love to write. So I do a lot of that in my spare time. I just enjoy the writing process, everything about it. And I love podcasting as well.
Yeah, and it's amazing to hear that because I know people might not have heard it, but Wendy said that she has 2 sets of teenage twins. And I missed the teenage part of that, although I kind of knew that they were a little bit older, but that has got to be a little tough when you're trying to do writing books and do your own podcast and things like that. How do you structure that? How do you make these things happen when you've got so much going on?
Well, I don't really have a set schedule. And I always feel I'm of the mindset that if you really want to accomplish something, or if your heart is really into something, you will find the time. You will find the time to be with the people that you want to be with. You will find the time to organize and do what you need to do. So I don't really have that much of a set schedule, especially now, my last day at the school was yesterday because we're out on summer break. So I have a lot of more free time now, which is great. And during the pandemic, I did a lot of my writing at night, in the middle of the night, and I was able to get my second manuscript done. And sometimes with writing too, it's kind of like, when the moment strikes me, and I always have like a journal with me. If I'm, running errands and things, I always have something very close by that if I get, a spark of something like, oh, that would be good for a book or that would be a good character. I always have it nearby. I have paper and pen, right next to my nightstand, because they say sometimes you get the best stuff at night, when you're dreaming or whatever, and you wake up in the middle of the night and have a great idea. And, if you don't write it down, I'll remember it. And then you wake up the next day and, of course you don't remember. So, I always have, paper and pen nearby I have a journal in my car. So, cause you just never know. I'm a very visual person. And you just never know when you're going to get flashes of insight.
We'll talk about the writing a little bit because, like you said, you mentioned that you're kind of a late bloomer. Did you always like writing? Have you always written? And you just finally, because your book came out in 2019, correct? You finally just put it down and got it out and got it published.
So I always loved writing. Even when I was a little girl, it was a lot more poetry and short stories. But even when I was little, I was 6 or 7 writing these stories down. As I got into the higher grades, I really was kind of towards poetry. I loved that. And I did a lot of short stories. So I always enjoyed the writing process. I feel like it was an escape for me. I love to read and write. And it was just something I always enjoyed doing. Now, I probably would have had my book out sooner, but, in the throes of parenting, 2 sets of twins, 4 children, when they were all like in diapers and that, I just didn't have a lot of time. I remember still having ideas and things, of course, and I would just write them down. But now that they're a lot more independent, they're teenagers, it's hard to keep food in the house, but at least, one's driving now, and that's great. And it just gives me a lot more time to do, what I like doing. And that's the writing. I enjoy it. I feel like any story, if it's coming from your heart, it's, you're going to find your group of people that will love it and will enjoy the written word and love what you have to say or write.
Yeah. So how has your husband played into this as well? I mean, he's obviously had to be supportive of that a little bit and help you with two sets of twins. I mean, I can only I can only imagine. We talked a little bit before, and I have it. She's going to be 8 in October, and I'm just, I'm sitting here thinking this is great. She's almost to a part where everything is, she's going to be a little bit more self-sufficient. She won't need as much. And then boom, my wife gets pregnant, so we got another one coming, and we're starting over again.
Yeah. But starting all over with diaper changes and all that.
Yeah.
Get ready. Like I said, get your sleep now, because the sleep desperation is the worst. Deprivation rather. My husband has always been very supportive of me, and I don't think I would have been able to get my book published if I hadn't had his support. He's always been terrific. Like now he's kind of reining all the kids in, because I'm on the show, and he's just been a terrific support and always will be. And he always believed in me, and he thought it was a great story as well. And I knew it was a great story. I had this like brewing in me. I had these characters kind of swimming around in my head. I'm like, okay, I need to write this down. I need to get this. I need to get the story out because I think I have something here. And so the book to write the book, it took about 8 years. And as I was writing it, so the premise is I grew up in a northern town in Wisconsin, about 4 hours north of Milwaukee, and I grew up on a summer resort. And it was a great place out in the woods. We had 8 cabins right on the lake. We also had a pool. I didn't realize back then how good I had it. And my parents they just loved people. They loved all kinds of people. And, we would have these tenants come and they would stay for a week, sometimes 2 weeks. And on Saturday, it would be changeover day. And then they would leave. And then we'd have the next group of people come in. So during these, on Saturday, later on in the day after, my parents would let them get settled in, they would say, we would love to get together. We're going to have this big picnic party. Would you like to come? And everyone would come. And our neighbors would come. People from in town. We lived about 6 miles outside of town. And a lot of people from in town would come. And before you know it, we would have this big group of people. So my dad would be the grill master. And, we just had this kind of like feast. Everyone would bring a dish to pass. And it was just a great, fun time. And then afterwards, my dad would get his guitar out and he'd start singing. And it was just really, it was fun, and sometimes people would come if, they didn't have a meal or if they were hungry. And we never ran out of food. And it was great. It was just, I loved it. So I thought that was kind of a neat, and we had a lot of different characters, like some of the neighbors, they were very interesting, and I included some of them in my book. And as well as we had some paranormal things happen, at the resort and kind of in the surrounding area. So I thought that would make a great premise for the book as well. So
it's interesting that you said that you have some people that are in there. Have these people read the book? Do they know that you wrote about them? Did they have like, hey, this is me?
Well, some of them have passed on. So my sister knows that it's her. And, I've changed the characters' names, of course, and certain aspects of their personality that if they would read it, they probably wouldn't know unless I specifically told them. But there was one couple specifically. They both passed on, but they were just great. The wife, she was the salt of the earth kind of person, very loud in her character, and she plays a major role in the book. And she's been very fun to write. And it was really fun writing the book because I would think back to all the different, anecdotal stories that happened, and I thought, oh yeah, that was cool, that was interesting, and it was very fun to look back on that. And that was the fun part of the writing process.
Yeah, that's it. I always like that. Most books that I read are, kind of autobiographical. So it's interesting when it is a fiction novel or whatever, where it actually is kind of based on true life. It kind of just gives you that feeling that, this could actually happen. It's kind of that reality.
Right. So there are certain aspects in there that it did really happen. So when I grew up, I had sort of, I guess you would call a sixth sense, The Shining. So I kind of knew when things were going to happen before they did. So if you read the book, you'll right away in the prologue, that was a true story that happened. And of course, there's things there that I completely made up. There's characters that I completely, just made fiction. And there's some ones based on people that I know. So I kind of peppered the two together, and I think it made for a nice story, an interesting story. My goal was going into it is, I didn't want to make a lot of money. That wasn't what it was about. What I wanted it to be about is I wanted to create something that would be hard to put down. I wanted people to read it and they wanted to turn the page. I didn't want it to be just another cheesy romance story. And it's not, it is the category of romance / paranormal. But I have to tell you, people that have read it, and I've had across all ages and people, they've said, I picked it up. Well, like guys your age, okay. I had a couple of them like, I picked it up thinking, oh yeah, she's from Wisconsin, and there's a doc on the cover. Oh, it's about fishing. All they had to do is just turn around and look. But and then they picked it up, reading it, and they thought, it's not about fishing, but it was hard for me to put it down. I found myself wanting to, keep reading on in the story. And to hear that as an author is just, fantastic. It doesn't get any better than that. I've had high school students come up to me and say, oh my gosh, that's my most favorite book. I loved it. I gave it to my mom to read, and she ended up liking it, and she's given it to all her friends. It was just something that they haven't, ever read before. And that's great. And that's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, that I definitely need to read it now because it sounds really cool. My wife does a book club, and I think I'll probably read it and say, hey, you need to read this in your book club.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah. So this one won an award last year, right? Because it's in 2020. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so there's different awards that you can enter online or whatnot, and I just thought, I'm just going to go ahead and enter this book in, and I actually kind of forgot about it because it was like 6 months later. I get this email that said, you won. You got winner status in. There was a lot of different categories, and I won in the romance / paranormal category, and I was just ecstatic. I couldn't believe it. It was very validating for me and very exciting time for me. I couldn't believe it.
So after you won this award, you talked a little bit about it. It sounds like you have another one coming. Were you working on this one right after you got the other one out? Is it something that you've been working on for a while? How did the process go for writing your second book?
So I was kind of writing a little bit as a Gray Resort. As soon as it came out, I was already starting to work on the second book. I knew it should be. Another author friend of mine said, you really should do a series. This isn't just, people want to know more about the characters, what is happening with them. It's not just a one book story. You need to have a series. And I'm like, okay, a series. She goes, yeah, and have it 3. And I really took her advice to heart. And so I started working on it. And, during the pandemic and things, I just dug my heels in, and the story just sort of wrote itself. It didn't take 8 years to do the second book. It was like a year and a half. And sometimes in the writing process, I don't really know how even the chapter is going to end. I'm just very free flow, organic kind of writing. And I should kind of plan a little bit more, be a little bit more organized that way. But that's just kind of how I write. And it's been great. I introduce a bunch of new characters, and then there's the same characters. And I think it flows really nicely into the second book. And I'm super excited to get it out there. And I have a small following of people that, they're excited for the second book to come out as well. And I'm hoping, I just sent it to an editor, and it's going to take a few months, but I'm hoping it'll be out October, November of this year. That's the plan anyway.
And you're also working on another one, right? With a friend. Is that what you were talking about? Let's talk about that one a little bit. So you've got a whole nother, like a series, right?
Yeah, well, this one is just one book. It's a standalone book. Okay. So I'm very excited to be a part of this group. It's called Thriving Beyond Crisis, and it's about 21 other authors, all from all around the world, that might have had obstacles they encountered and how to overcome them. And it's just different stories, and I'm a part of that. I'm very excited, and that's due to come out sometime in July. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, we're working on that. They just did a mock-up cover of that book, and we're kind of choosing the cover for that. And yeah, a lot of exciting things are happening.
That sounds like a great story as well. You know, that's kind of what this show is about, showing other people that there are adversities that you face. I think a lot of times, and I say this a lot, but there's times that people only see the end result. They don't see what it took to get there. And then they also, you know, kind of shut down. You know, I mean, had you decided, you know, 4 years into writing this book, that's it, I'm done. You know,
gosh.
I've talked to a couple authors who have written the book, got turned down, and then like 10 years later picked it back up and rewrote it and got it published.
Yep. Yes. So I had a lot of different things happen towards the end of before A Gray Resort got published, that it almost didn't. I mean, I lost half my manuscript online. I had a lot of laptop problems. I didn't know anybody in the publishing industry. I had a lot of stuff in front of me that just, you know, I really wanted the story to get out there, and I was going to do anything and everything to get it out there. And I kind of rose above all that. But yeah, it wasn't without difficulty. There were things, and I'm like, okay, at one point I was like, this book is going to get out there. I don't care what happens next. You know, it did. And, you know, you can persevere, especially sometimes I wonder if it's just a sign from the universe when you have all these obstacles in front of you. It's a test, you know, it's a test, you know, to your testament of what, you know, are you really going to get this out there or not? And once you do, there's just wonderful things that happens, you know, you just have to persevere. And you just got to continue on and don't quit.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. You know, we talk about failure all the time, and the people who failed are the people who don't try again, because you fail and you rearrange that and you do it differently. And then the success will come after multiple failures most times. So
that's right. Yeah. That's right.
So another thing that you're doing, so you have one book out, you got another one getting ready to come out, and then you're kind of co-writing another one. You have your own podcast as well. It's called the Juicy Pear Podcast. Tell us a little bit about that. So
that came about, my friend Sean and I, it was last summer, we were kind of in the throes of the pandemic, and we, you know, it was just very, you know, our state had a lot of right away, very strict rules on the pandemic, and it just felt very stifling and stagnant, you know, and we're both very creative people. And we thought, okay, you know, we got to do something here. Mental health just seemed like it was just on the decline, and, you know, turn on the news every day, it was just very depressing. And so I thought, you know, it would be great to have a podcast where, you know, we could, you know, interview different people from all different backgrounds and all different experiences in life. You know, if they've overcome something, they had an interesting thing happen to them. You know, we love to interview creatives, artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, and psychics, ghost hunters, all different kinds, basically. And it's just been absolutely terrific. I love meeting new people. I love interviewing people. I love to know, you know, about how this person got to where they are today, and, you know, all the obstacles that might have happened, you know, how they overcame them, and how they're living. And, you know, we wanted to help people, and we wanted to have fun while doing it. And we're having a great time. And it started out, let's see, our first episode came out in November of last year. So we've had consistently pretty much an episode every week since then. So we're going strong.
That's awesome. I just hit 100 up on my show, and I've been doing it for a year and a half now. And it's always fun to see those milestones as far as people listening to it and getting that next episode, and then getting that next great interview, and being able to talk to people like yourself and all these other people that I've got to kind of do a similar thing, you know, talk to them, kind of pick their brain, figure out how they're doing things. Writing a book has always fascinated me. I've sat down, like I told you, I'm more of an autobiographical person, and I've sat down. I have like 22 pages of this book that I've been trying to personally write myself, and it's always like I could see why. I don't know if you spent 8 years in a row writing it, because I feel like if I have to spend 8 years in a row writing it, I'll probably just go crazy.
It collected dust here and there. It wasn't like 8 years in a row, but yeah, it would have gotten out sooner had I not had so many kids. But
yeah. Life happens.
It does. It does. Yeah, no, I love to pick somebody's brain and know, how they got to where they are. And it just fascinates me. And, I love to learn too. I'm always learning about podcasting, and it's been real fun. I think we're going to do this for a while. And as long as it is fun, we're just going to keep doing it.
Well, you made it past the short. I think what they say most last like 6 episodes. So
yeah,
I think once you get past that, then you start really thinking about it. I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I'm doing it because I want to do it," and I really don't think that that's really it. I mean, there's always ulterior motives behind it, but I think when you enjoy it, it makes you want to continue to do it. Money would be nice to have, and I think there's got to be some sort of goal for getting that to happen, getting it monetized, getting it to the right people. So.
Yeah, you have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to have some fun doing it, because it is a lot of work. There is a lot of behind the scenes work to it. So unless you are committed to doing it, after a while, people probably won't stick with it, because it is a lot of work. Yeah.
Yep. And it is. And if you want a better product, you have to continually be willing to figure that out. And that's really what gets people listening. I hate the people who say, I do this for me, I do this for me. And it's like, okay, if you're doing it for you, then go ahead and record it and just go put it on your bookshelf. Don't put it out there for the world to listen to.
They want themselves to be known. It's I would think you don't go into podcasting just so you can talk to yourself and that's it. You want to make yourself known. You want to have a product out there that could help people. We want to help people as far as, because I think mental health right now, boy, we really could use a lot more joy and fun and humor, as well as educate out there. And that is the driving point of why we do our podcast. We want to educate, but we want to have a lot of fun too. And we want to make it really organic. And I think we've achieved that.
Well, I think you have a lot of really good things coming on. I enjoy seeing your posts on Facebook and things like that. Before we get to the last question, I know we have your Instagram handle running across the bottom here. Where can they find the book, and where can they follow you besides Instagram?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So you can, my book is on Amazon. It's called A Gray Resort, Grey. You can also look me up on Amazon. You can look my name up, Wendy Kok, K-O-K, and it'll all come up. On Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you can get books, really. I have a Wendy M. Kok author page on Facebook. You can find me there. I have a website, wendymkokauthor.com. I also have a juicypearpodcast.com. That's our website. You can go ahead and listen to any episode right from your phone. We make it easy. We're also on all the directories. And you can find me on Instagram, WendyKok4. And
That's great. You always got to do everything you can to get it all out there. So that's awesome that you have. I need to get my website set up. That's the biggest thing that I don't have, but I have the domain and everything. It's just one of those things where I got to do the research and learn how to do it. So,
oh gosh, I had to have someone do it. It was still a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Yeah, no, I had some help with that. I couldn't build a website on my own. No.
Well, it's been great hearing your story and getting to hear about your books and all the things you're doing. We do have one last question that I always ask every single guest, because the show is called Shaping Success. We want to know what you define your success is. How do you shape your success?
Well, I think success for people can be different. My version of success is if you're doing something that, you can feel it in your heart and your soul, you're having fun with it. It's not drudgery. And sometimes, it's scary to actually do what you want to do. It really is. Sometimes you have to get out of your own way. So I feel success to me is if you're doing something that really makes you happy, Sure, the icing on the cake would be, and to get paid for it as well, that'd be great. But if you're doing something that makes you happy, I think you are, 90% on your way. You really are. Do something that really makes you happy, and take a chance in life. You never know.
Yeah, that is a big one. I think that if you're happy doing it, it makes it seem like you're not really doing anything in it at all. And that's what I enjoy about these interviews and getting to talk to people like you. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be on. And I'm going to get that book and we're going to check it out. So hopefully everyone else is listening. They'll go grab your book. And it was great having you on. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Well, that's the end of the show. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.